Gentlemen, the self-reliance is a word which has been much talked about by the services, the bureaucracy, and the politicians for the last 2 decades. Somehow, self-reliance has been deluding us. Even 20 years ago, when we had started our indigenization program, the content of indigenization program in any equipment we developed was close to 30%, and the imported element was 70% plus. After 20 years, the situation is still almost the same. The Indian content in any project still remains at 30 to 40%, and the imported content around 70%. One will wonder why there has been no improvement in the situation when we have developed in this country such giants in the defense private sector like Tata, Mahindra, Larsen & Toubro, Pipavav, ABG, to name a very few. Each one of these giants has invested heavily in the defense sector and has got qualified manpower and machinery to match the best in the world. And this is true both in the aerospace sector and the shipbuilding sector. In spite of this, the private sector companies are starved of work, whereas the public sector undertakings are having their order books full to the brim for the next 10 to 15 years. We often hear from the higher defense management that there are 48 ships on order, of which only 3 to 4 are being imported through foreign acquisitions, and the remainder are all being constructed indigenously. This may be true, but analyzing the whole situation, you will see that the majority of the orders, particularly the big ticket orders, are with the public sector undertaking, who have in any case not been in a position to even deliver a single order on time. This situation has to radically change if self-reliance is to be met in the next 5 to 10 years. The private sector needs to be trusted and to be allowed to compete with the public sector for faster and cheaper deliveries of equipment. To make my point, I want to highlight that in the year 2002, the cabinet took a decision to set up a second line of submarine construction in this country. No action from the government has been taken till date on this aspect. However, it is fortuitous that for the country that a de facto a second line of submarine construction is available in the private sector. In spite of this fact, the country continues to insist on importing submarines for the prime reason that the Indian sector, both public and private, will not be in a position to deliver the submarines on time. This is rather a lame excuse. The government is quite happy that the private sector survives with just 30% offsets, which the foreign vendor gives, considering it as the largest, which he is in any case obliged to do. In this, no technology flows into the Indian sector, both public and private, and mostly run-of-the-mill work is passed on to the industry. In the recent past, the industry has also been severely affected by the turmoil in the foreign exchange rate variations. Even after selection of a vendor, the contracts are not issued for several years, and the industry is told to hold on to these prices, which are 4 to 5 years old. This whole situation is totally illogical, and the government is giving exchange rate variations to IT sector for contracts which are longer than 1 year. The industry has no role to play whatsoever in controlling the exchange rate. It is purely a political function, and hence the exchange rate variation for the contracts of more than 1 year duration should be automatically provided to the industry. To crown it all, there are contracts issued by service headquarters in which they want 20 years fixed price contracts, especially for maintenance. How can you hold the prices for 20 years without knowing what is going to happen tomorrow morning? This is absolutely absurd. Taxes and duties is another bug which troubles the industry heavily. There is a variation of taxes and duties from one end of the country to the other, and it changes every year in any case. Since the duties and taxes are going from one book of the government to another book of the government, the industry has recommended that please let us pay the duties and taxes and you return the money as paid in actuals, but still this has not been accepted. These two items, if controlled by the government in a favorable manner, will remove two imponderables which affect the industry in a big way. The industry has no role to play at all on these two aspects, and it will be worth their while to just sort these two matters out, and the industry will be left to work on other aspects which are important to the contracts.